Hey guys, Anthony Scott here, ToyHypeUSA.com. Today we are reviewing FanHome Star Wars R2-D2 subscription box number 15. Special shout out and thank you to FanHome for sending along for review. Greatly appreciate that. To subscribe, check out the links right in the YouTube description or off of ToyHypeUSA.com. This box includes issues 55, 56, 57, and 58 and includes parts to continue the build for R2-D2. This box also includes a free gift, a free hat, Star Wars Build Your Own R2-D2. And it's very nicely done. I'm going to leave it in the bag. It's a dark blue hat, and you see the logo right there. Let's kick things off with a look at issue number 55. There's a look at the cover and the parts that we're going to be using for assembly. So inside this issue, building R2-D2, fitting the left drive motor, Inside Star Wars, red sails in the desert. And for Droid Directory, we have Aqua Droids, used by Separatists. And first article, red sails in the desert. That's Jabba the Hutt's sail barge. And a continuation, along with some great images from behind the scenes. I love it how they show this. Next up, we have Aqua Droids, used in the Clone Wars. And a new article for robotics. A continuation. And finally, we have a look at the parts to continue on to the build. So we're going to be using the left wheel drive motor, which are included. Here is a closer look at those parts, along with the screws we're going to be using. First step, fitting the drive motor as shown. We're going to be attaching it to the wheel plate. Plugging that in as shown. And a continuation for these steps. Make sure to really take your time as you're working on this. Read it carefully. Here's an exploded view, how to assemble the leg casings. Putting the wires in there. We've done all this once before, so by now you should be able to know what you're doing. A lot of these parts here have been offered in previous bags, so hopefully you kept them handy. And there's a look at the completed assembly. Here's a look at the back. So what I'm going to do now is assemble this, and let's take a closer look. Here's a look at the completed assembly. This was a little bit time consuming, so make sure to take your time. Really read the instructions carefully, as there's a lot of steps and little details in this one. I almost missed these side pieces. I missed it on the first time around. I got to go back to the other leg and put them on. So just know that you could miss a step, even if you're being careful. There's a look at the other side. So again, make sure to really take your time. The motor is on the back, and that is screwed in, as are all these screws right here on the back. The wires are through, as the instructions specify. So I am now moving on to issue 56. Here's a look at issue 56, as well as the parts that are included to continue the build. Inside this issue, we have building R2-D2, fitting the dome panels and left foot parts. Inside Star Wars, the Battle of the Selak Pit. And for Droid Directory, we have Professor Hoyug, hopefully I probably pronounced that wrong, Mark IV, Architect Droid. So, first article, the Battle of the Selak Pit. Luke Skywalker being dumped in the pit. And here's a continuation of that. Boba Fett, as you know, falls in, but we learn in the book of Boba Fett he survives. Droid Directory article. And a continuation. Oh, this is the droid that trained Jedi Padawans, if you remember from the Clone Wars. And we have an article for robotics. And a continuation. And on the right here, we have a look at the parts that are included for the build. Let's take a closer look at that. So we have a dome panel, some sticky tape. We have a power bus, cable mounting plate, and we have an outer foot casing. So that's all going to go right here. And the next step. First, we're going to place these plates on the dome as shown, pressing hard on it. And the same step here. So when you're done, the dome is going to look like this. That's coming along nicely. And now we are fitting the left foot casing. So we just finished the leg. This is just the first cover for the bottom of it. And screwing that in. And completed assembly. So your assembly is going to look like this. The foot casing is on the bottom here. So what I'm going to do is assemble this, and let's take a closer look. So here's a look at the completed assembly. I have attached these two panels onto the dome. I used crazy glue as opposed to those stickers. That's easier to do. I had a lot of trouble pulling them apart. And I went ahead and put on this left foot casing, which you see right here. This piece is loose fitting, so we're just going to leave it like that. Here is a look at the bottom there. So this is going to be screwed in with these two black screws from the previous issue. And I am now moving on to the next issue. Here's a look at issue 57, along with the parts that are included. Inside, for the building of R2-D2, is a dome panel and left foot parts. Inside Star Wars Into the Woods, and for Droid Directory, IG-100 Magna droids. First up, Into the Woods. And we have a look at behind the scenes, making of the film. IG-11 Magna Guards. And a continuation. New article for robotics. and a continuation. And on the right here, we have a look at all the parts that we're going to be using in this issue. There's a look at the dome panel, where it goes. And now the foot casing. And the infrared sensor. Pages like a stick here. All right, so fitting the dome panel and fitting the left foot casing. These are the steps we're going to be taking. Here's a closer look at that. This is straightforward, so you guys should know how to go about this. Here's a look at the completion of assembly. And now fitting the left foot casing. We're also going to be attaching this sensor right on the bottom. Connect it as shown and screw it in. And here's a look at completed assembly. So I'm going to assemble this and let's take a look. Here's a look at the completed assembly. The frame for the dome is now on, or panel I should say. Goes in like this. And here is look at the casing for the leg. This is all attached now. Here is the bottom, the sensor's right there. And here's a look at the other side. This is all screwed in, as you can see there. All right, so I am moving on to the next issue. Here's a look at the cover of issue 58, as well as the parts that are included to continue the build. Inside this issue, we have dome panel and left foot parts. Inside Star Wars Filming in the Forest, and for Droid Directory, BB-8 Astromech Droid. First article, Filming in the Forest. And we have a continuation. BB-8 is next. And we have an article for robotics. And a continuation. And finally, here's a look at the parts as well as assembly for R2-D2. We are using the dome panel and left foot parts. Here's a look at that, as well as the screws and the steps. Putting the bottom on here. And there's a look at the completion for this assembly. It doesn't look like we are using the power bus cables in the step. That looks like we're going to be using that maybe in the next issue. So I'm going to assemble this right now, and let's take a look. Here's a look at the completed assembly. The panel is on the dome. Here's your look at that, super glued on. And the bottom of the leg is also attached. Here's your look there. It's screwed in, and these sensor light thingies are right through the holes there. So there's a look at final assembly. Overall, this is coming along great. A lot of great details and definitely a superior likeness to R2-D2. My recommendation would be to subscribe. Click on the link on the YouTube description or of toyhypeusa.com before you buy. Thank you in advance for doing that. This way, FanHome knows where the sale is coming from. I am Anthony Scott at Toy Hype USA. Thank you so much for watching this video. Stay tuned for more. We have Iron Man and Street Fighter coming up next, and then we'll return to R2-D2. Thanks for watching this video. Stay tuned for more.